In my opinion, the most important aspect of video games, the thing that makes me want to play them, is the gameplay. That is the reason I play video games, is to play a game, obviously. So if it isn't fun for me to play, then there isn't much reason for me to actually, play the game. That is, except if it has an amazing story. I don't play video games for the story, but sometimes the story is that good that even if the gameplay is not the best, I'll still play it as I'm intrigued by everything that is, going on in the story, or the current plot threads, you could say. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about 3 video games that I think have such amazing stories. Some that make up for, the kind of lackluster gameplay, whilst others, still have this amazing gameplay, but the story is also really good and needs talking about. And really, I'm making this video as there's a certain game that I want to talk about that has a really great story, in my opinion. Now, I've wanted to talk about it for a while, but has a bit dated gameplay. I didn't really want to make a full video around it, so I decided to chuck in the other 2 games. So you get a video with me talking about 3 games. So be happy for it. Anyway, I'll try not to spoil too much, but there may be spoilers, so be warned. First off, I'm going to be talking about Xenoblade Chronicles, which I'm currently playing, and I'm about 40 hours in. So I can't talk about the story as a whole, but I know lots of people regard this game and its story as one of the best in the RPG genre, but also in video games as general. And the amount I've played of it so far, yeah, I can agree. The story is incredibly good, as well as the gameplay, but yeah, we'll talk about the story today. The basic plot are that there's some robot dudes called Mechon, which attacked the protagonist, called Chuck, his town, eating some of the occupants. Don't know how robots eat people, but sure. And a special, faced Mechon killed someone close to him. That is without trying to spoil it. Now he wants revenge and wants to kill all Mechon. And he can do this with the Monado, which is the special sword for this game. It is essentially a laser sword that can cut through Mechon armor and allow Shulk to see the future as well, which is pretty interesting concept. Although it can't actually harm phased Mechon at the start of the game. Pretty basic plot, but its setting and what they do with this basic plot is what makes this game's story so amazing. Xenoblade has probably the best setting in any video game I've ever played, as it takes place on the corpses of 2 colossal titans, which is essentially the same word twice, but oh well. They're in endless combat, the Homs, or humans, being the native race of the Bionis, and the Mechons being from Mechonis. These 2 titans would be fighting until the fight came to an end, when then they both killed each other at the same time or something else. This is just one of the coolest concepts ever. So when you get to a new area, you can see what part of Bionis you're on. Such as, you could be on the Bionis' shoulder, or in its lungs, or you could even be on the Mechonis' sword, or its fallen arm, or whatever. It's just really cool because whenever you go into a new area, it shows you the map and it shows you where it is, and then when you go looking around, you're like, oh yeah, this does look like it, and you can see the other titan in the distance. It looks really nice. That goes on to me saying that just the landscape in general is incredibly beautiful and really a joy to explore. But, it's getting more into the gameplay part, but it looks great. Anyway, getting back to the story. Another great element of the game, which I said before, is the vision, which shows essentially out of context spoilers. There's always those tweets that are thought images of our context spoilers for this, and it's essentially that what the visions are. I just tell you something that's going to happen without any context whatsoever. So and although these outcomes can be changed, so it's kind of oh, spoilers, but maybe it doesn't happen. Anyway, this draws players in by giving them intrigue, making them want to play more of it, as they want to know what these visions mean, and if they can be changed. It's also a pretty fun gameplay mechanic, as in battles you can see that are a devastating attack and then prepare for how to block it or dodge it or whatever. Do whatever you can do. Story, that's what we're talking about. It includes lots of twists and turns, such as the one or multiple ones, on Prison Island. You know what I'm talking about? I personally already got spoiled for it. Well, most of what happened, not everything. So it wasn't as impactful, but it was still, like, made logical sense if you thought about it. And that, like, you could have figured it out beforehand. But even with that, even though I got spoiled, it was still really well done. All the stories pulled off really well. It's incredibly interesting. There's some other twists throughout the game and other interesting elements thrown in, like politics and stuff or whatever. All that. The story, which makes the story quite gripping. But I don't really mind that I got spoiled. And so far, this game has one of the best stories in video games. So yeah. The second game that I'm going to be talking about, which has an amazing story, is The Last of Us. I've not played part 2 yet, but I'll eventually get around to it. That being said, the first game has such an incredible story in its own right that isn't really affected by all the controversial things that part 2 have done. Obviously, I don't know exactly what it is, I haven't played it, but I do understand the gist of it. If you don't already know, The Last of Us 1 is a post-apocalyptic action-adventure game about like a fungus outbreak or something that essentially turns people into zombies. And the main character is called Joel, is trying to transport a teenage girl called Ellie across the country as she has an immunity to this zombie infection fungi thing. So she is essentially essential in creating a cure. Overall, I feel like the story of this game feels very human and like down to earth, as it explores the relationship between Joel and Ellie as they develop and progress through the story, but also the relationships between people in general and what they do in times of need. Most of the other characters in the game, they have to do drastic things like kill each other to gather resources, just ambushing other people as they travel around the country. Some people even go to further desperation. The stuff that people do in the winter area, which I won't spoil. The story could be very emotional. There's no character is like immune to death. Like essentially, like anyone could die at any point in the game. There's no plot armor, you could say, for characters. And there are a couple of twists, especially the one at the end, which are really good and make you question if what you were doing is the right thing. Personally, I think the story is a lot better than the gameplay of The Last of Us. Which, the gameplay can be fun at times, aggravating at others, specifically like the stealthing around the infected. But the gameplay never really exceeds just being good. It's never really amazing, and it doesn't really help that third-person shooters aren't really my favourite genre of video game. But what made me really enjoy the game is the story, is what mostly everyone says is what makes it one of the best games of all time, is that this amazing story, which is really well told, it's moving, can be surprising at times, and definitely one of the best stories in video games that I've played. And I just hopefully part 2 is at least alright. And finally, we're going to be talking about the game that I'm making this video for in the first place. Probably one of the most interesting and distinctive stories ever told in a video game, in my opinion, of all the games I've played, is Persona 2 Innocent Sin. I wanted to make a video on Innocent Sin for a while, but as I said before, gameplay is just a bit dated. As in, there's an incredibly high random encounter rate, which is quite annoying. Which kind of, in most games nowadays don't really have random encounters, or if they do, they're not as that annoying. So it's kind of hard to play through it and enjoy it to its fullest. But the story definitely makes up for that, and I felt like I could dedicate a whole video towards it because of this reason. So here we are, talk about video game stories in general, and yeah, talk about Persona 2. In Persona 2, this all-powerful being kind of person called Philemon has given a group of people the power of persona, which is the physical manifestation of one's personality. Not like stands. Because in the town of Sumeru, which is the town I'm in, rumours are becoming true. As in, if you spread a rumour, then whatever you spread happens, or, you know, physically whatever. You know, you get the idea. Anyway, one of these rumours is the Joker game, where when you call your own number on your phone, Joker appears to grant your wish. However, if you do not have a wish in your heart, he will instead take your hopes and dreams, leaving you a lifeless husk. You're not dead, but you don't really have, you know, your hopes and dreams, so you sort of just, you know what I mean. Anyway, don't wanna. The protagonist, Tatsuya, and his companions, Lisa and Akechi, act out the Joker game, and Joker appears and drains the dreams out of Akechi's band members who are also there, and accuses Tatsuya of a sin which he can't remember committing. So, who is this Joker, and what sin did Tatsuya commit? That is the starting point for the plot of Persona 2. Now already, at the start, I've seen these little hooks, you know, as all stories should do, but these really interesting things like mystery of like, ooh, what did Tatsuya do? Who is the Joker? Why are rumours coming true? Anyway, later on in the story, the Masked Circle is introduced, which the Joker is a leader of, and lots of other interesting things happen, such as you go and try and find a bomb which could be in multiple different buildings, you know, which is pretty fun and interesting. God, I keep on saying everything's fun and interesting, but you know, it's just like, oh, that's pretty cool. I really like the idea of the rumour system, of rumours coming true, as it allows lots of cool gameplay options, such as you start a rumour for your own benefit, such as this cafe sells weapons, and then you can go and buy weapons from this cafe, whatever, you know. But also it adds lots of interesting elements to the game's story. The main one being, minor spoilers here, that after defeating the Masked Circle and discovering Joker's identity, which I won't spoil here, the remaining Circle members and the group are attacked by the Last Battalion, which is a group of Nazis led by Hitler in shades, wielding the spear that pierced Jesus, called the Spear of Destiny, all generated by the conspiracy theory / rumour that Hitler never died and was hiding out with his last Third Reich or whatever. Do you see now why the story is completely bonkers and just completely amazing? You literally fight Nazi mechs. It's great. So that is one of the weird things, where lots of other stuff with rumours come true. Like, that's just the main example that I thought was just like such a cool reason to just be like, just a cool thing. God damn it. It's like you wouldn't really find that in any other game. Anyway, the story isn't just ludicrous. It's also quite touching and emotional. Some of the best parts of the games are these sections, such as the Burning Museum, where you have to save a bunch of school kids, and the section where you find out what sin Tatsuya committed was. Don't want to spoil too heavily, but I think it's really well. I think it links really well to existing characters, makes sense in the world. It's just a really atmospheric and interesting section. And so lots of other twists in the game. Yeah, they're all like, wow, that makes sense, or oh my god. Like a good twist is just like, yeah, that sounds believable. Overall, Persona 2 is one of the most unique stories in video games. There's just a joy to experience. Although I can't say the same about the gameplay. If you want a little quick gameplay section, it's fun, apart from the increased random encounters. The negotiating can be a bit annoying, and even though the combat is fun, like obviously if you have loads of random encounters, it gets a little bit less than enjoyable over time, because you're doing it so much. Although I haven't actually played Eternal Punishment yet, so I don't know how the story will continue. Eternal Punishment being like the Persona 2 Eternal Punishment being like the semi-sequel, like it's a duology, so it links to this game and continues the story. So people say Innocent Sin has a better story, so that's why I'm talking about it here without playing Eternal Punishment. Maybe Eternal Punishment will make Innocent Sin story better. I don't know. Anyway, I'd highly recommend playing any of the games I've talked about today. If what I've said is interesting to you, especially Persona 2. And if you don't want to play it because either the gameplay isn't your kind of thing, or like it's kind of hard to actually find a place to play it, at least like watch a playthrough of it. Anyway, just felt like talking about a couple of games in this video, so I hope you enjoyed. I know it's been a little while since I made my last video. Really, I'm just gonna be making videos like maybe like once a month, just about stuff. Depends really. I might make a video about Doom Eternal. Currently playing Valorant. I don't know. Maybe make a video of that. Don't know. Maybe some other stuff. I've got some other ideas. Vanquish is another game. Anyway, hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next month, possibly.